Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yes.
Today, we are going to be exploring a book called Cry of a Troubled Heart
Oh, very interesting.
by Glenn and Ethel Coon. And they propose a very unique method for communicating, especially when things get tough.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it the 7 Laws of Communication.
Okay.
And you know how sometimes the simplest ideas
Right.
are really like the most profound ones?
Yes.
That's what we're going to be unpacking today.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What I think is so fascinating about this book
Yeah.
is how they don't just lay out these laws like a textbook.
Yeah.
They use all these real-life stories, almost like parables,
Mm-hmm.
to show how these laws play out
Yeah.
in families and churches
Right.
and even personal struggles.
Well, we're not just getting like theory.
No.
We're getting practical examples of how these laws actually work.
Exactly.
Like we're talking about a backslider,
Yes.
smoothing over family tensions,
Right.
even bringing harmony to a church council.
All different kinds of situations.
Oh, it's like, whoa.
And woven throughout is this strong emphasis on prayer.
Yes.
Not just as a formality,
Right.
but as a force that can actually shift situations
Yeah.
when it's paired with these communication laws.
Okay, I am so ready to dive into these 7 laws.
Me too.
Where do we even begin?
So the book breaks them down into 3 groups.
Okay.
The first is called the Laws of Human Ease,
Okay.
and they lay the foundation for any healthy interaction.
Mm-hmm.
These are choice and humility.
Laws of human ease. I love that. It sounds like, creating a space where people feel safe and respected.
Yes.
But how does that actually work?
So the law of choice is about acknowledging the other person's right to make their own decisions.
Okay.
Instead of trying to control them or dictate what they should do,
Mm-hmm.
we step back and trust their ability to choose,
Yeah.
even if we don't agree with their choices.
That can be really tough, though.
Yes.
Especially when you care about someone and you see them heading down a path that you think is harmful. I mean, isn't there a danger of being too passive in those situations?
That's where the second law comes in. Humility.
Okay.
It's not about staying silent or condoning bad behavior.
Right.
It's about approaching the situation with respect,
Mm.
acknowledging our own limitations, and remembering that we don't have all the answers.
So it's about recognizing that everyone is on their own journey,
Yes.
and our role isn't to judge or control, but to support and encourage,
Exactly.
even when it's hard.
And the Coons argue that this approach, this foundation of choice and humility,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually more effective in the long run
Okay.
because it builds trust and it creates a space for genuine dialogue.
It sounds almost counterintuitive. Like by giving up control,
Yes.
you actually gain influence.
You create a space for them to actually hear you.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's get into some specifics here.
Okay.
Tell me about one of the case studies that illustrates these first 2 laws.
One that really struck me was, please pray for my backslidden son. It's about this mother, Mabel, who's just heartbroken
Oh, gosh.
because her son, Bill Jr., has walked away from his faith.
I can only imagine the pain and frustration she must feel.
Oh, absolutely.
I bet she just wants to, shake some sense into him.
Initially, yes.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that Mabel actually resists these 7 laws at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She finds them too idealistic,
Okay.
too out of touch with the raw emotions she's experiencing.
I can see that.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with something so personal and painful,
Right.
it's hard to step back and be philosophical about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as she grapples with these laws,
Okay.
she begins to see things differently.
Okay.
She realizes that her attempts to control Bill Jr.
Mm-hmm.
have only pushed him further away.
So she's starting to see the wisdom in letting go of control and
Yes.
trusting in a higher power.
That's a big part of it.
Okay.
But it's not just about passively hoping for the best.
Right.
Mabel and her husband, Dr. Crouch, they actively apply the laws of choice and humility
Mm-hmm.
in their communication with Bill Jr.
What does that look like in practice?
They start by writing him a letter,
Okay.
but not the kind you might expect.
Okay.
Instead of lecturing him or guilt-tripping him,
Right.
they express their love and faith in him
Okay.
while acknowledging his right to make his own choices.
So they're creating a space where he feels safe and loved,
Yes.
even though they don't condone his choices.
Exactly.
It's about extending grace and understanding,
It is.
even when it's hard.
Even when it's really hard.
Yeah.
And there's another element that I found particularly intriguing.
Okay.
The book talks about cultivating a honeymoon twinkle in your demeanor.
A honeymoon twinkle.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to know what that means.
Think about the joy and radiance you see in newlyweds,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
The book suggests that reflecting this kind of delight,
Mm-hmm.
that honeymoon twinkle,
Okay.
in our interactions with others, even
Yeah.
those who are struggling, can be incredibly powerful.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be around someone who's constantly gloomy and judgmental.
Right.
But how do you cultivate joy when you're dealing with a situation like Mabel's?
That's where the connection to faith comes in.
Okay.
It's about drawing strength and joy from your relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
allowing that joy to radiate outwards,
Okay.
and trusting that even in the midst of difficulty,
Yeah.
there is always hope.
It's like choosing to focus on the positive,
Yes.
even when it's hard.
And that shift in perspective
Yeah.
can have a ripple effect,
Yeah.
not just on the person you're communicating with,
Okay.
but on yourself as well.
So it's like a win-win.
Yes, the book suggests that by choosing joy,
Okay.
you're not only creating a more inviting atmosphere,
Mhm.
but you're also strengthening your own faith and resilience.
So does this honeymoon twinkle approach actually work?
Wait,
What happens with Bill Jr.?
I don't want to spoil the ending,
Okay.
but let's just say that Mabel's commitment to these principles,
Yep.
particularly choice and humility,
Mm-hmm.
leads to a pretty remarkable transformation in her relationship with her son.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Look at one.
I can't wait to hear how it all unfolds.
Yes.
But before we dive into the resolution of that story,
Okay.
let's move on to the next two laws in this group.
All right.
What are they?
These are called the laws of strong allurement,
Okay.
and they focus on how we can draw people towards a positive path.
Okay.
These are Jesus and joy.
Laws of strong allurement.
Oh,
They
no.
sound almost irresistible.
They do.
I'm all ears.
So the law of Jesus is, at its core, about embodying the character of Christ in our interactions.
Okay.
It's about letting our actions and words
Mm-hmm.
reflect his love, compassion, and grace.
So it's about being a living example of your faith,
Yeah.
not just talking the talk,
Yes.
but walking the walk.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this ties in beautifully with the law of joy, which we've already touched on a little bit. It's about communicating with a genuine sense of joy and delight,
Mm-hmm.
demonstrating that faith is a source of happiness and fulfillment,
Yeah.
not a burden or a set of restrictions.
That makes me think about people who just have this radiant energy about them.
Yeah.
You know, you feel drawn to them,
Yeah.
like you want to be a part of whatever they're experiencing.
Exactly.
If-
And that's exactly the kind of effect these laws aim for.
Okay.
They challenge us to become sources of light and positivity,
Mm-hmm.
drawing others in, not through force or manipulation,
Right.
but through the sheer attractiveness of a life,
Yeah.
lived in alignment with Christ's teachings.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these two sets of laws work together.
Right.
Choice and humility create that foundation of respect and trust,
Yes.
while Jesus and joy build upon that foundation,
Yes.
drawing people in through love and inspiration.
It's about creating a space where people feel safe, loved, and inspired to grow.
This is fascinating stuff, but I'm also wondering how it all works out in real-life scenarios.
Yeah.
So tell me about another case study that illustrates these principles in action.
Let's delve into Please Pray for My Daughter, Engaged to an Unsuitable Boy.
Oh,
This one introduces us to Dr. Leslie Manning,
okay.
who's facing a classic parental dilemma.
Oh, I can feel the tension already.
Yes.
Every parent's worst nightmare.
His daughter, Clarine, is engaged to someone he and his wife strongly disapprove of.
Oh, man.
And just like Mabel, Dr. Manning initially resists the idea of these 7 laws.
Okay.
He believes that in this situation, his daughter needs firm guidance,
Right.
not a hands-off approach.
I can understand that protective instinct, but how does he reconcile that with the idea of choice?
He doesn't at first.
Okay.
He's convinced that he knows what's best for his daughter
Mm-hmm.
and feels justified in trying to steer her in a different direction.
Right.
But then he has an aha moment
Oh.
as he reflects on his past interactions with Clarine.
What does he realize?
He comes to the uncomfortable realization
Mm-hmm.
that he's actually been violating several of the 7 laws.
Oh, that's gotta sting.
Yes.
It's one thing to hear these principles in theory,
Right.
but it's another to see how you've fallen short of them yourself.
Exactly.
Ouch.
And this realization is a turning point for Dr. Manning.
Okay.
He recognizes that if he wants Clarine to respect his opinions,
Yeah.
he needs to embody these laws himself.
So it's about leading by example,
Yes.
showing her the kind of love and respect
Right.
that he hopes to receive in return.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this leads to a major shift in his approach.
Okay.
He moves away from a controlling dictatorial style
Mm-hmm.
and embraces a more humble, grace-filled way of communicating.
I'm guessing this change in approach doesn't magically solve everything overnight.
No, it doesn't.
Relationships take time and effort to heal.
Absolutely.
But this shift in Dr. Manning's communication,
Yes,
does it lay the groundwork for a deeper, more authentic connection with his daughter?
it does.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me, how does this new approach play out?
Well,
Does Clarine eventually see things his way?
I don't want to give too much away,
Okay.
but let's just say that by embracing the principles of choice humility, Jesus and joy,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Manning creates a space for healing and reconciliation.
Okay.
And the outcome,
Yeah.
while perhaps not what he initially envisioned,
Yeah.
is ultimately far more fulfilling than he could have imagined.
Wow, these stories are really resonating with me.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple principles
Right.
have such a profound impact on relationships.
And we've only just begun to explore them. We still have 3 more laws to unpack,
Oh my goodness.
and they deal with some of the most powerful forces in human experience:
Okay.
faith, hope, and love.
Okay, I'm definitely ready for more.
Me too.
But you know what? I think this is a good place to pause for now.
Okay, sounds good.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Yeah.
We'll be right back to delve into the final 3 laws and explore even more compelling case studies.
Looking forward to it.
From Cry of a Troubled Heart.
Yes.
Welcome back. We've been deep diving into the 7 laws of communication from Cry of a Troubled Heart.
Yes.
And I have to say, I'm already seeing how these principles could apply to so many situations in life.
It's amazing how the Coons weave these laws through such diverse scenarios.
Yeah.
From family dramas to personal anxieties to navigating church dynamics.
Speaking of church dynamics,
Yes.
that's actually where our next case study takes us.
Yes. Please pray for my ill-advised church counsel throws us right into the middle of a classic church conflict.
Oh boy.
Our protagonist this time is Clara Burton,
Okay.
and she's deeply troubled by some decisions made by her church council.
Church council's prayer groups.
Yes.
It sounds like there's potential for some serious drama here.
A little bit.
Does she try to stage a coup or something?
Well, she's certainly tempted.
Okay.
Initially, she wants to use the prayer group as a way to pressure the council into changing their minds.
That's a pretty savvy, if somewhat manipulative approach.
It is.
But I guess
Yeah.
it's tempting to use whatever tools you have at your disposal
Right.
when you feel strongly about something.
But as Clara grapples with these 7 laws,
Mhm.
especially humility,
Okay.
she has a realization.
What is it?
She realizes that trying to force her will on others,
Mm-hmm.
even in the name of prayer,
Yeah.
goes against the very principles she's trying to promote.
It's like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly.
Yep.
And this realization leads Clara on a different path.
Okay.
Instead of trying to control the situation,
Yeah.
she focuses on building relationships and understanding within the church community.
So it's about shifting from a mindset of conflict to a mindset of collaboration.
Yes,
It sounds challenging, though,
it is.
especially when you feel passionately about an issue.
It takes effort.
Yeah.
But the book suggests that this approach, rooted in humility and a genuine desire for unity,
Mm-hmm.
can lead to surprising outcomes. Instead of creating further division,
Yep.
it can actually help bridge divides and bring people together.
That sounds incredibly hopeful, especially in today's world where it seems like everyone is digging in their heels
Yes.
and refusing to budge on anything.
And what's interesting is that Clara's journey isn't just about changing the minds of the church council.
Okay.
It's about her own personal growth and transformation
Mm-hmm.
as she learns to apply these principles in her own life.
So it's a story about inner transformation as much as outward change.
Exactly.
And I won't spoil the ending, but Clara's story illustrates how powerful these principles can be,
Yes.
not just for resolving conflicts,
Right.
but for building stronger, more unified communities.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm officially sold on the first 4 laws. They seem to create a framework for healthy, respectful interactions, whether it's with family, friends, or even in a church setting.
And now we're going to delve into the final 3 laws.
Okay.
And these are where things get really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
These are the laws of divine pressure.
Laws of divine pressure.
I know the term pressure might sound a bit forceful,
Right.
but bear with me.
It definitely sounds a bit paradoxical.
It does.
How can pressure be divine?
It's a good question. And the book clarifies that this pressure is not about coercion or manipulation.
Okay.
It's about aligning our actions and communication with God's power,
Mm-hmm.
letting His love work through us
Okay.
in a way that influences others for the better.
Okay. I'm starting to see the distinction.
Yeah.
It's less about applying pressure ourselves
Right.
and more about tapping into a higher source of influence.
Exactly.
Okay.
And these three laws, faith, hope, and love,
Okay.
they provide a framework for doing just that.
So let's unpack them one by one.
Okay.
What's the deal with faith?
The law of faith in this context
Hmm.
is about expressing confidence and trust in others,
Okay.
even when they've messed up.
That's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about believing in their potential for growth and transformation, even if they can't see it themselves.
It sounds like it takes a lot of courage to practice this law,
It does.
especially when someone has repeatedly disappointed you.
Right.
Isn't there a risk of being taken advantage of?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But the Coons argue that this kind of radical faith,
Mm-hmm.
rooted in God's love and grace,
Okay.
can actually inspire people to rise to the occasion.
So it's not about being naive or blind to someone's flaws,
No.
but about choosing to believe in the best version of them,
Yes.
even when it's hard to see.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about speaking words of affirmation and encouragement,
Mm-hmm.
watering the seeds of potential that may lie dormant within them.
I can see how that could be incredibly powerful to have someone believe in you even when you doubt yourself.
Yes.
What about hope?
Hope.
How does that fit into this framework of divine pressure?
Hope is all about maintaining a positive outlook,
Okay.
even in the face of adversity.
So it's not about ignoring the reality of the situation, but about choosing to see beyond the present moment to envision a brighter future.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the book emphasizes that this hope isn't just wishful thinking.
Right.
It's anchored in the unshakable truth of God's love and faithfulness.
It makes me think of that verse. Hope does not disappoint because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit.
That's a beautiful connection.
Yeah.
And the book suggests that when we communicate with genuine hope,
Mm-hmm.
we become conduits of God's love and power,
Okay.
offering a lifeline to those who are struggling.
Okay. I'm starting to see how these laws of divine pressure really amplify the impact of the previous four.
Right?
Choice and humility create the space for connection.
Yes.
Jesus and joy make that connection magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
And then faith and hope infuse the interaction with a power
Yes.
that transcends our own limited human efforts.
You've got it.
Wow.
And then there's the final law,
Okay.
the one that underpins and encompasses all the others.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this, love.
You guessed it.
Okay.
The law of love.
Mm-hmm.
But the Coons emphasize that this is not just any kind of love.
Okay.
It's not sentimental or conditional.
Right.
It's agape love,
Okay.
the self-sacrificing, unconditional love that God has for humanity.
It sounds like a tall order to live out this kind of love consistently,
It is.
especially in challenging situations.
It takes practice and intentionality.
Yeah.
It's about putting the needs of others before our own, choosing forgiveness over resentment,
Right.
extending grace even when it's undeserved.
It makes me think of that verse. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And the book suggests that when we allow this kind of love to flow through our words and actions, we become instruments of God's healing and transforming power.
This is powerful stuff.
It is.
But I'm also curious to see how these final three laws play out in practical scenarios.
Yeah.
Does the book offer any more case studies that illustrate these principles?
Absolutely. In
Yeah.
fact, the remaining case studies delve into some of the most challenging and sensitive topics you can imagine.
Okay.
We have Please Pray for My Teenage Friends Who Fail Me,
Okay.
which explores the complexities of peer relationships and the power of choosing faith and hope over judgment and disappointment.
It makes me think about how teenagers are especially sensitive to feeling judged or rejected.
Yes, they are.
To have a friend who believes in you unconditionally during those turbulent years can make all the difference.
Absolutely.
Then there's Please Pray for My Distracted Nerves,
Yeah.
which focuses on how these principles can be applied to personal struggles with anxiety and emotional distress.
That one feels particularly relevant in today's world,
Right.
where it seems like everyone is constantly stressed and overwhelmed.
How do these laws offer a path to peace and stability?
This section explores how centering our lives on Christ, cultivating gratitude, and choosing faith over fear can help us find peace and purpose, even amidst chaos and uncertainty.
It's like shifting our focus from the problem to the solution,
Exactly.
from what's wrong to what's right.
And the book emphasizes that this isn't about denying or minimizing our struggles,
Right.
but about finding a source of strength and hope that transcends our circumstances.
Okay, what about the other case studies? What other challenges do they tackle?
We have Please Pray for My Children to Be,
Okay.
which emphasizes the importance of nurturing faith and curiosity in young minds, creating a space where children feel safe to ask questions and explore their beliefs without fear of judgment.
That makes me think about how crucial it is for parents to be open and honest with their children about faith,
Yes.
to create an environment of trust and transparency.
Absolutely.
Then there's Please Pray for My Lonely Heart,
Yes.
which explores how these principles can help us overcome feelings of isolation and build genuine connections with others.
Loneliness is such a pervasive issue, especially in today's digital age. Yes, it's encouraging to see how these laws offer a path to authentic connection and belonging.
And finally, we have Please Pray for My Persecuted Soul, which tackles the challenging topic of facing opposition and hostility because of our beliefs.
Yes, a very important topic.
That one sounds particularly relevant in today's increasingly polarized world.
It is.
How do the 7 laws provide guidance in such a difficult situation?
This section explores how responding to persecution with Christ-like love, humility, and forgiveness can actually be more effective than fighting back or trying to force our views on others.
That's a powerful message, and it reminds me of that verse. Do not repay evil for evil or insult for insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called so that you may inherit a blessing.
Exactly.
Wow, we've covered so much ground.
We have.
From family drama to church conflict to personal struggles.
Yes.
It seems like these 7 laws really do have a universal application.
And what's remarkable is that the Coons present them not as rigid rules, but as guiding principles that can be adapted to a wide range of situations.
But I'm also wondering, how do we move beyond simply understanding these principles
Right.
to actually putting them into practice?
Yes.
It seems like a daunting task to embody these laws consistently in our daily lives.
That's a great question, and the book offers some practical tools and suggestions for doing just that.
Okay.
One thing that struck me was the Certificate of Commitment to 7 Laws of Communication.
Oh.
That's included in the back of the book.
Okay.
It's like a pledge you can sign as a reminder to actively integrate these principles into your life.
I love that.
It's like a tangible symbol of your commitment,
Yeah.
a reminder to hold yourself accountable.
Are there any other practical tips the book offers?
Yes. There's another small but significant detail that I found helpful.
Okay.
The book mentions the importance of developing a new vocabulary that reflects these 7 laws.
A new vocabulary.
Yes.
Intriguing. Tell me more.
It's about being mindful of the words we use and choosing language that is uplifting, encouraging, and grace-filled.
Okay.
It's about shifting away from criticism, judgment, and negativity, and embracing words that build up, inspire, and convey love and respect.
It sounds like it takes a lot of self-awareness to practice this.
It does.
You know, we often speak without thinking,
Yes.
reacting instinctively rather than responding with intention.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's about becoming more conscious of our communication patterns
Right.
and making a deliberate effort to align our words with these 7 laws.
So it's not just about what we do, but also about what we say.
Exactly.
Recognizing that our words have the power to heal or to harm.
And the Coons suggest that by consciously cultivating a new vocabulary, we can actually rewire our thinking patterns and create a more positive and grace-filled inner world,
Yeah.
which will naturally flow outwards into our interactions with others.
This is fascinating stuff.
It is.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of all the insights and practical wisdom this book has to offer.
I agree.
But unfortunately, we're running out of time for today's deep dive.
No, it goes by so fast.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Yeah.
We'll be right back for the final part of our deep dive into Cry of a Troubled Heart,
Great.
where we'll reflect on the key takeaways from this book and explore how you can apply these 7 laws to your own life.
Looking forward to it.
Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our deep dive into Cry of a Troubled Heart.
Yes.
We've explored all 7 laws, from choice and humility to that powerful trio of faith, hope, and love.
They really are powerful.
And we've seen how they can play out in so many different situations.
Yes.
You know, as we've been talking, I've been struck by how these laws aren't just about communication techniques.
Yeah.
They seem to point to something deeper, like a whole way of being in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it's a particular worldview.
Yeah.
And you're right, the book doesn't shy away from its Christian foundation.
Okay.
It explicitly connects these laws back to the life and teachings of Jesus.
Now that you mention it, I can definitely see the parallels. Jesus always gave people a choice to follow him,
Right.
never forced his beliefs on anyone.
And his humility was evident in how he treated everyone with respect and dignity,
Mm.
regardless of their social standing or past mistakes.
And think about the joy he radiated,
Yeah.
that sense of peace and purpose that just drew people to him.
Absolutely.
He didn't offer a gloomy religion or
No.
like a bunch of restrictions.
It was about abundance and fulfillment.
Yeah, it's like he embodied those laws of strong allurement we talked about.
He really did.
And his unwavering faith in humanity, even in those who'd really messed up,
Right.
it just speaks volumes about the power of that law of faith.
His belief in the potential for transformation in everyone.
And he never gave up on anyone, always offered hope, even in the darkest of times.
And his love was unconditional, all-encompassing,
Yeah.
extending even to his enemies.
So it's like these laws aren't just random rules.
Oh.
They're reflections of Christ's character.
A blueprint for living
Yeah, a guide for living out his teachings in our everyday interactions.
in our relationships and our communities.
It's like the Coons are offering us a practical manual for how to be more Christ-like in our communication.
Yes, they are.
But you know what's really exciting to me is that these principles aren't just for Christians.
Exactly.
They resonate with anyone
Yes.
seeking deeper, more meaningful connections.
It's about treating others the way you want to be treated,
Yeah.
with respect, kindness, and understanding.
Building bridges instead of walls.
Yes.
Fostering unity instead of division.
That's it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well,
How can they start putting these laws into practice in their own lives?
it starts with awareness,
Okay,
becoming more conscious of how we communicate,
right.
the words we choose, the tone we use, even the unspoken messages we're sending.
And being willing to challenge our own assumptions and biases?
Yes.
Like, are we approaching others with genuine humility and openness? Or are we trying to control the situation?
Are we truly listening to understand or just waiting for our turn to speak?
Yeah. Are we acting out of love and concern?
Right.
Or letting fear and insecurity drive our behavior?
These are some tough questions, but essential for growth.
And remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
Absolutely.
We're going to stumble. We're going to fall short along the way.
We all do.
The key is to keep learning, keep growing,
Yeah.
and keep striving to communicate with love and grace.
And to remember that the power of these laws ultimately comes from something bigger than ourselves.
Right. It's about tapping into that source of love and wisdom that can
Yeah.
transform our relationships and our lives.
Beautifully said.
So for those listening, I encourage you to pick one of these laws that really resonates with you
Okay.
and focus on integrating it into your interactions this week.
Hmm.
Could be as simple as choosing your words more carefully
Right.
or making a conscious effort to listen with greater empathy.
Small steps, consistent effort, and a willingness to learn and grow.
That's how we make these principles a part of our lives.
It really is.
And if you're feeling inspired to dive deeper,
Yes.
I highly recommend checking out Cry of a Troubled Heart for yourself.
It's a great book.
And we'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Share your thoughts and experiences with the 7 Laws on our website or social media.
And if you're feeling really ambitious, consider starting a discussion group
Ooh, I love that.
to explore these ideas further with like-minded people.
Yeah, there's power in community,
Absolutely.
coming together to support and encourage each other on this journey of growth and transformation.
Thank you for joining us on this fascinating exploration of the 7 laws of communication.
And until next time, keep seeking truth. Keep seeking truth. Keep communicating with grace.